Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of The Whole Perspective. My name is Kevin Delory, Chief Lending Officer at EPM. As always, joined by my good friend and right-hand man, Kenny Phillips, Senior Vice President of Lending. Today, we have a great guest. Before we interview Dr. Angela Holliday-Bell, this is perfect timing. I'll tell you why, because last night I took 2 NyQuil Z's to fall asleep because I've been having a tough time getting to sleep because my mind's racing. So welcome to the show, Dr. Angela Holliday-Bell.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to talk about my favorite subject, which is sleep. And hopefully you'll leave with some helpful advice so you don't have to take any more of those equals.
I'll let Kenny give a quick introduction.
Absolutely. She's a board certified physician, certified sleep specialist, speaker, and founder of Solution and Sleep LLC. As someone who formerly suffered from insomnia herself, she understands the transformative power of good quality sleep and how obtaining this regularly can lead to a happy, healthier, and more productive life. She's been featured on local and international television shows, including Dr. Phil, ABC News, and WGN Television, spreading her message about the power of good sleep. Welcome, Dr. Angela Holliday-Bell.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So, I think sometimes people forget, like, it's so difficult. You're running around, you're doing all these things, but nothing starts you off better for a day than a good night's sleep. Like just the story I was sharing with you about taking the 2 NyQuil Z's.
Oh, hello.
So my whole day was put behind because of that, story I shared with you, taking those NyQuil Z's, not having a good night's sleep. I wasn't able to get up and work out this morning. I think sometimes we forget just how important it is to have that good night's sleep.
100%. So I think that sleep is really the foundation to optimal health and happiness. I think it's something that people so often leave to an afterthought, right? Like after I'm done with all the things of my day and busyness and stress, whatever time I have left, I'll give that to sleep. And I really challenge people to look at it the other way around. Like dedicate your however many hours you need, and we can talk about how to figure that out to sleep, and then allow everything else to fall into place around that. And you will actually be so much more productive and efficient and happier throughout your day by putting sleep first. So it really is the best way to start you off on the best foot.
So I was reading an article, I think it was yesterday or the day before, where sometimes when you're getting ready to go to bed and everything quiets down, and that's the time that your brain just goes into overdrive and thinking about things. And that's my biggest struggle, is that I'll fall asleep okay, but maybe 30 minutes in, then the thoughts start coming of what I have to do tomorrow and what, I could have done differently today. How do you address that? How do you handle that? And is that true that the quiet does spark the brain just to go to overload?
Yeah. No, that's absolutely true, because there are so many things that our brain is trying to process all throughout the day. However, we're usually distracted all throughout the day, doing all the other things with work and home life and, kids, if you have kids, that our brain doesn't have that time. So then when we're in bed and it's quiet and it's dark, our brain is like, okay, now let's think about all the things we didn't get to think about during the day. So that's absolutely true. And one way I recommend kind of mitigating that and dealing with that is doing something called a worry journal, or you can call it a brain dump. Same thing, but the concept is you set aside a certain amount of time during the day, so not at night, ideally within a couple hours before your bedtime, where you just write down everything that comes to mind. So your to-do list, things you're worried about, and like really get granular with it. Like if you have a project coming up for work, write out, okay, I'm going to start the slides today. Tomorrow I'm going to do, the outline, whatever. Like really get detailed, because that gives your brain dedicated time to process all these thoughts. So it's not trying to do that when you're falling asleep. And making it a practice that you do every single day means that even if new thoughts come up as you're trying to fall asleep, you can calm your brain by saying, oh, we have time to deal with that tomorrow during our worry diary time or our brain dump. And your brain believes it. It's like, oh, yeah, we actually do that every day. And so it makes it easier for you to fall asleep. So that is one of the best practices I think someone can do if they have those racing thoughts keeping them up at night.
So I got to get to the question. So in your opinion, what is enough sleep? I've heard Puff Daddy say he only gets 3 hours of sleep and he works so many hours a day. And then we have other people say, I need 8 hours. I have to have 8 hours. What's enough appropriate sleep for an individual?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's the golden question that I think everyone should be asking is how much sleep I should get. And the reason I say that is because there is no one size fits all. Sleep need is like shoe size. I say there's an average, but some people will need a little bit less and some people will need more. So most people have probably heard that you need 7 to 8 hours of sleep. And again, on average, that will be true for most adults. I personally need 9 hours of sleep to feel rested. If I get 7, I'm exhausted. If I get 8, I'm okay, but I'm not functioning optimally. And so I try to help people to understand the number that they need to function optimally throughout their day without needing 5 cups of caffeine and all these other things to get through the day. That is your number. And some people say, well, how do I figure that out? Also a great question. If I think everyone at some point in their lives should have the luxury of taking what I call a sleepcation, which is a vacation that is solely focused on your sleep. So you set aside a time period, ideally of about 5 days. If you can squeeze that in, somewhere between 4 to 7 is a good range, where you just allow your body to fall asleep and wake up naturally. No alarm clocks, no other time constraints. You just listen to your body's needs. The reason it needs to be, several days is for the first couple of days, you're sleeping off what we call sleep debt. So that's the amount of sleep you've missed out on previous night. So I need 9 hours. If I get 7 hours, that's 2 hours of sleep that I've built up. Your body will try to pay that off to some extent. It's not going to sleep for, 20 hours straight, but I'm going to be sleeping longer than my sleep need. After a few nights, though, you fall into this rhythm where you're falling asleep, waking up around the same time, and that's usually represents your sleep need.
Oh, I'm going to try that. I'm a big napper.
Sleep vacation.
I once read you can't replace the sleep that you missed.
100%.
Oh, that is true. Okay, because my nap always helps me. I'm not going to lie. I'm a old school napper right here. On a Saturday, as soon as I come in from the golf course, I tell my wife and daughter I'm taking 30 minutes. I'm going to get a little power nap in, and I do feel recharged. I am an old school napper, and people make fun of me for it, but I love it.
First of all, I love that for you. Napping is actually great. And I always say napping is excellent if done responsibly. So what that means is napping is not going to replace overnight sleep. You cannot actually, people are like, oh, I catch up on sleep on weekend or I make up for it on weekends. You cannot actually make up for missed sleep that you miss throughout the week. And the reason for that is the sleep that occurs each night has its own functions for that night. You actually spend a specified amount of time in each sleep stage for different reasons. So while you can sleep more later to make you feel less tired, you'll never recover the functions that night of sleep was going to give you. With that being said, power napping, which is a nap that is shorter than 30 minutes, so usually somewhere between 15 to 30 minutes, taken some time before 3 p.m. is excellent because it helps you to improve your mental clarity and mood and creativity and all those things, your energy levels without stealing from your sleep drive and impacting your sleep that night. So personally, when I don't have clinical duties or my schedule's a little more lax throughout the day, I try to take a power nap any day that I can.
Yeah, Kenny, I hope that employee once told me, I said, why didn't you show up for this meeting? And they said, well, I need to stay home and I needed to catch up because I went 16 hours without sleep, something crazy, and I'm going to sleep for the next 10 hours. And I'm trying to figure the math out in my head. It doesn't even make sense to me. But I used the line saying, I once heard that you can never make up for sleep that you lost. So why don't you just show up for the meeting on time like everyone else? So I wish we had this episode on before she came at me with that BS line. But yeah, I am a old school power napper. I think it works. And some days, if I'm having a bad day, I will put my feet up on my desk. I'm not ashamed to admit it. I hope Eddie's not watching. And take a quick 20-minute power nap. And I wake up, to your point, more creative, back in a better mood, and just ready to attack the rest of the day. To me, that's more valuable than going to lunch. It really is.
Yes. No, it's so true. And there are companies like Google. I'm sure people have heard of the nap rooms that Google has on their campus and other companies as well. And there's a reason for that. It's because it's actually been shown to increase your productivity and efficiency, especially in the afternoon. So they know that empowering their employees to do these strategic power naps can actually make them more productive and is actually an economic benefit too. So I think the culture of power napping should be encouraged for all. Really.
Well, though the problem is,
in Italy, right? You take a siesta.
Oh yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
Well, let's move. So it's different. Some people get that cup of coffee, and I used to do that. I'd have a cup of coffee, and the problem would be there. Now I'm wired, and then I would go home, and my normal bedtime say 9:30, and I couldn't. I'd be staring at the ceiling, so it didn't work for me. So people were like, well, doesn't the nap make you less tired at night? No, I got more energy, and I power through to 9:30, and I have a normal night's sleep.
Yes, you're absolutely right. That is the most common thing that people would do to combat that dip. So let me first start by saying, your circadian rhythm is that roughly 24-hour cycle that dictates when you feel awake and alert throughout the day. For most people, you're going to get those alerting signals early in the morning. And we also have a natural post lunch dip in our alertness in the mid afternoon, somewhere between 1 to 3. People think it's because you eat a meal. A fairly large carbohydrate meal can add to that, but that's going to happen regardless because of our natural circadian rhythms. And then our alerting signals start to come back up and then dip closer to the nighttime. So in order to combat that, in addition to not getting enough sleep, so your sleep drive is high, people reach for cups of coffee because of the alerting effects of caffeine. Makes sense. However, caffeine has a long half-life, and a half-life is the amount of time it takes for half of the amount of that you consume to be excreted from your system. And for caffeine, that's about 5 to 6 hours. So what that means is after 5 hours, half of the amount that you consume is still in your system. And after 10 hours, a quarter of the amount that you consume is still in your system, meaning that at your normal bedtime, there is likely still a sufficient amount in your system, still exerting those alerting factors, making it more difficult to fall asleep, making you more tired when you wake up in the morning, when you're going to reach for more cups of coffee, and you just put yourself in this vicious cycle. So one of the best things you can do to combat that dip is take a power nap. You get all of the benefits without stealing from your sleep drive. You're actually likely to sleep better that night, and it's just overall a better option for you.
Last couple of nights I've been having issues sleeping, breaking sleep 2 hours, 3 hours, waking up, looking at the clock, anxiety, whatever it may be, work going through your mind. And a lot of people suggest, hey, take a melatonin. You'll sleep right through the night. What's your thoughts on melatonin?
So I think melatonin has its place, but it is not in the place that most people put it in. I think that people reach for it too often and too soon. So we think about it, our bodies naturally produce melatonin. We call it the hormone of darkness, and it helps to set the stage for sleep in response to darkness and typically later in the night. Also, changes in body temperature help to promote its release, and it's supposed to help us make the transition to sleep. There is melatonin that you can get in supplemental form, and I think it's helpful during times when your circadian rhythm is thrown off for other reasons. For instance, if you're traveling across time zones and now your body doesn't know when it should be producing melatonin because it's light outside, even though it's your normal nighttime, melatonin can be helpful to kind of reset the clock. I also like it if, let's say, you've been on vacation for a while or it's summer break and you've been going to sleep hours later than normal. It's a similar type of thing in that you've kind of put your body in a jet lag situation, perfect to reset your circadian rhythm. As a way to kind of maintain your nightly sleep, not so much. And the reason for that is it's more efficient and better for you in the long run to just promote your natural melatonin release. And melatonin doesn't typically help you stay asleep. It helps to make the transition to sleep, but it's not something that typically helps you to stay asleep. So a lot of people, get frustrated in that for some it works out to fall asleep, for some it doesn't, but then they're still waking up multiple times throughout the night. People turn to higher and higher doses that are supra physiological, so way beyond what our bodies naturally produce, and then tend to have more of the side effects like headache and grogginess and nausea and that like sleep hangover. And then you're really negating all the beautiful benefits of natural sleep anyways. So I would say work on ways to promote your natural melatonin release and those healthy sleep habits that will get you that natural restorative sleep that you're actually looking for.
You just said something there that makes sense to me now. In the summer, being up here in the Northeast in Rhode Island, we get really 3, maybe 4 months if we're lucky of nice weather. So, you stay outside more, you do more. And on the weekends, instead of, going to dinner and going right home, now I'm, at the country club and maybe I'm there until 9 o'clock and I'm doing more things. And I find my sleep has changed, almost like you just said, on vacation. So my sleep totally changes in the summer. It's totally different because of those 4 months that I want to spend more time outside and be around. In the winter, I don't have that issue. I'm in bed. I wake up at 5. I go to the gym, do all these things. And it's so easy to stay on that, that sleep schedule. But when you just said that about a vacation, it kind of clicked to me. Maybe that's why in the summer, my sleep is so different. And you just explained that's the big thing for me. I'm like, why don't I have this problem in the winter?
Yep. And it's multifactorial, right? It's getting off. So sleep in your body in general loves routine. The more routine you can be, the better it is for your sleep because it helps to reinforce that circadian rhythm. So waking up at the same time every day is going to be one of the best things you can do for your sleep. Going to bed around the same time every day Even doing activities like eating meals at the same time, working out at the same time helps to reinforce signals that your body and brain are sending to say, okay, these are the times that we send these signals, including the melatonin and sleepy signals. So it just helps it to learn when you want to be awake and when you want to be sleepy. So when you're on summer break and there's, parties and we're going out to late dinners and barbecues, it's so easy to get thrown off. The other part is light is the strongest factor influencing your circadian rhythm in a way that tells you to be alert. In the mornings, that's helpful. So first thing in the morning, within an hour of waking, if you can have about 15 to 20 minutes of natural light exposure, great way to reinforce your circadian rhythm. The problem is those long summer days where it's still light outside at 8 to 9 p.m. is telling your brain that you want to be awake and alert at 8 to 9 p.m. because that is the function of light. And so when we're out and we're exposed more, we actually delay our natural melatonin release. It can make it more difficult to fall asleep. Same thing when we're inside, just in bright lights. So a lot of people don't think about how much lighting and these brighter LED lights and all the things we use in our homes that are signaling to our brain that actually it's daytime and it's time to be awake and alert. And we do that right up until it's time to go to bed. And then we turn it off and think we're going to fall asleep. But studies have shown that just existing in normal room lighting can delay melatonin release by up to 90 minutes and significantly impact your sleep. So it is important that you adjust your light exposure so that you're getting that in the morning, but not getting too much of it later when you're trying to fall asleep.
Interesting. You talked about jet lag a little bit, and we traveled to the West Coast a lot, Vegas, for different functions and events. And one of the partners, Phil Mancuso, tries to stay to his normal schedule on the East Coast as far as going to bed and wake up in the morning, where sometimes we are entertaining guests. We're up till midnight, West Coast time, when it's really 2 a.m. normally our time. First of all, how long does it take to recover from jet lag? And two, should we do the Phil Mancuso choo-choo and try to get to bed at the right time according to our East Coast normal bed?
Well, shout out to Phil. I love that. I think there are not too many people that will stick to their home schedules. And I'll start by saying, if you are traveling for a short amount of time, and short meaning less than 4 days or so, it actually is most helpful if you can just stay in accordance with your home regimen. That way you're not trying to adjust to get there and then adjust when you get back, and it just takes a long time. It takes 1 to 2 days to adjust for every one change in time zone. So for some people, that can be, depending on where you're going, it can take a week for you to fully adjust. People have different sensitivities to those changes. So it takes some people longer and some people a little bit shorter. But it takes your body a while because obviously we weren't created to just be jumping across time zones within, a few hours. If you were naturally traveling, the time that it would take you to get there would be sufficient for your body to acclimate to that. But that quick change throws off your digestive system. So there's something called gut lag too, because again, your circadian rhythm is controlling all of those functions and it's set on a certain time that now has to adjust. So if you're traveling for a short amount of time and it makes sense to stay on your current schedule, if it's only a couple hour difference, that's the best thing to do. If not, you really want to use light strategically. As I mentioned, strongest factor influencing your circadian rhythm. So making sure you're exposing yourself to lots of natural light in your new time zone, and then decreasing light exposure at the time you want to go to bed. And then again, this is where some melatonin supplementation can be helpful to shift your circadian rhythm each way.
A lot of people are probably watching this and they said, normally we have on, pro athletes, business leaders, and we talk about mindset. And the reason that I wanted you on is because I find this to be the most important thing to start your day off with the right mindset. And it's something people struggle with. And I try to explain to them, like, if you get a good night's sleep, you wake up so fired up. I will like spring out of bed, do a flip out of bed when I have the right sleep, into the shower. But when I don't, I am cranky and I'm not in the right mindset. So in order to get to the step that we always talk about is winning mindset. How do you get there? It starts right here. And a lot of people take it for granted. I just close my eyes, I wake up. They don't realize how important it is, because your website is thesolutionissleep.com.
Yes.
That's the solution. If you can't start your day off with enough sleep and the right attitude, you're never going to have a winning mindset.
Ever. And can we mention the fact that many pro athlete teams and even, high power business and companies invest in sleep specialists to help their athletes get sleep, because they understand how important that is, even just to muscle growth, to performance, to, like you said, mindset, to mood. There are so many things that are affected by your sleep in terms of your performance and being able to function optimally, that it is one of the best things that you can invest in. You get a chance to do that every single night. I like to say that sleep is one of the highest forms of self-care that exists. Everyone's on this self-care train, and I'm going to get a massage and a facial, and that's great. All of that is great too. But the best thing you can do to invest in your self-care, your health, your physical health, your well-being, your mental health, decreasing your risk of anxiety and depression, your risk of chronic disease like cardiovascular disease and diabetes, literally starts with getting enough sleep every single night. That will pay dividends so much more significantly than anything else you can do to try to invest in your health or self-care.
Wow. When you work at corporations and executives, what are the top three, the first three things you introduce to them as far as, changing their sleep habits and, increasing those benefits of getting a good quality sleep?
Yeah, that's a great question. So it really what Kevin said, mindset surrounding sleep is so important. I think we have been conditioned in our culture to have this "I'll sleep when I die" mindset, and sleep is a waste of time. And it's so lazy that it's so ingrained in us that we feel guilty almost for sleeping. And so it starts with that, with telling people, no, you deserve to sleep. It's not something you have to earn. If you work hard enough and you get to the point that you can treat yourself with sleep, like you deserve to sleep every single night, no matter what you do. So really getting people to change that mindset, and then prioritizing sleep. So a lot of people say, oh, I'm so busy, I just don't have time to sleep. And we make time for the things that we prioritize, right? And so starting your day with sleep in mind. I am a physician, I am a sleep specialist, I'm an entrepreneur, I run a business, I do all those things. Anyone who knows me in my life or business knows that no matter what I have on my plate, and those are many things, I'm going to get my 9 hours of sleep. That is my priority, and I fit everything else around it. And people are like, how do you do that? And it's because I make time for the things that I prioritize, right? So really starting with, you deserve to sleep. You need sleep to function at your highest level, and that is what you're trying to get to in the first place. And then prioritizing sleep. It's not something that you just leave to the end of the day. When you have time, prioritize your sleep need and fit everything else around that. And then it's about finding the pieces and the putting together the puzzle that we can set up. Everybody's a little bit different in their lives, but what can we do to really tailor your life for your best sleep? And a lot of times that looks like giving tangible strategies to help them manage their stress and anxiety throughout the day, so that they're not taking this huge stress load to bed with them and then trying to figure out what to do with it once they're in bed. Setting up a schedule that's conducive to sleep. A bedtime routine is so important. Many people overlook it, or they'll do it for their children every single night religiously, and then when it comes to them, it just goes out the window. But understanding that trains our brain to connect those activities to sleep and gives us that transition time. So really those are the major things that I try to come in and teach, and then give strategies to help them implement that.
I love it. I think, any executive, any, athlete, anyone that wants to perform at 100%, it starts with that, right? And I always say, if I don't feel myself, I don't get out of bed. And usually when I don't feel myself, if I don't have 100%, I don't get out of bed. I still do, but I don't bring my best self, right? So I think when I'm not bringing my best self, when I'm having my best days, it's probably because I went to bed at 9 o'clock. I got up at 5 o'clock. I don't use an alarm clock. I get up anywhere between 5 and 5:30. I work out for my half an hour and I go to work. But if I don't get that, I don't get up at 5:30. I don't get to work out. And now I'm at 80, 90%. Yeah.
Exactly. And people are so used to functioning even less than that, right? Like people are so used to this chronic deprivation that leaves them just chugging through at 70% and pushing their bedtime later because now I have so many things to get done. But I'm like, if you just invested an hour more into your sleep, do you know how much more you get done during the day, so that you're not pushing your bedtime? It's just this whole kind of cycle that people put themselves in, that they don't understand that actually the answer is just getting more sleep, and then you get so much more done, and then you feel better doing it, and then your relationships are better, and there's such a positive downstream effect from investing in your sleep.
Interesting. So my mother's a big I need my TV to fall asleep. A lot of people say they need these things to fall asleep, whether it's a sleep app with, soothing music, or the television. Is the best sleep, as you said earlier, dark, quiet, or do these apps and having the TV on really assist people in falling asleep?
Yes, those are called sleep associations. And those are just things that people connect and tie with falling asleep. And there are healthy sleep associations and there are unhealthy sleep associations. So I'll start by saying, across the board, darkness, 100% darkness is the best way to fall asleep. Even ambient light from outside or from a television, when your eyes are closed, your retinas can still detect that light. And even if you're able to fall asleep, you won't fall into as deep of a sleep because your brain is getting stimulated to say, no, we should actually be awake and alert. And it's kind of this tug of war. So people will say, well, I need the TV to fall asleep, but then they don't sleep well and they're waking up multiple times throughout the night and don't realize that they're actually being counterproductive in that habit. Now, when it comes to sound, it's a little bit different. So some people need complete silence, but some people can sleep well with continuous soothing sounds like a white noise or nature sounds or something like that. And it's just a matter of personal preference. Different, quick changes in tone or volume can be disruptive to sleep because it's alerting. It alerts your brain that something might be going on and there's danger. So you want to not have something that's quickly changing in volume or tone, but a continuous soothing sound can actually be very conducive to sleep. So it's all about the associations you make that can be healthy and some that you may not realize are actually interfering with your ability to fall asleep.
It's so funny. I have to have complete darkness, quiet. My wife needs a TV, so I have to be compromised.
It's a tug of war.
Yeah, I can't go past level 10. And I've tried the sleep mask. I've tried the earplugs because I need that to go to sleep, and she doesn't. And there's nothing worse than rolling over when you open your eyes and seeing that light. And it's like I'm blind.
My gosh.
And now I'm up and my mind's racing. I love the idea of a worry journal. I'm trying it tonight. Because it's so true. When I hear the calm, and that's when I do my best thinking. But then it starts racing. This morning at 3:30, even after taking those, I hate taking those NyQuil because I wake up sluggish in the morning.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
And then my mind's still racing. Then the worst part is that my mind was racing, and I had these great thoughts, but because of the NyQuil, I forgot what had those great thoughts about, and I didn't fix anything. It only got worse. So,
it's a Band-Aid, right?
I want you to help me figure something out. So when I go to the casino, Kenny mentioned Vegas, I could stay up for 2 straight days for some reason. Don't know why. Is it the light, or is it a BS answer that everyone always gives you that they pump fresh oxygen in there? What keeps you awake for all that time? The adrenaline?
Yeah, I think it's just whatever is stimulating to you. So, the casino, lights, sounds, action, your adrenaline is racing. All those things are stimulating. It works against your body's natural tendencies to sleep. One example I give is, people who have like anxiety and stress that keep them up at night. Let's say you were in the woods in the middle of the night, 2:00 in the morning when you would otherwise be sleeping, but you hear a bear outside of your tent. You're going to pop up so fast and be awake and alert because your body is understanding that sleep, it puts you in a vulnerable position. So I'm not going to leave myself vulnerable to a threat. I'm going to release this cortisol and this adrenaline to help keep me up and counteract the normal processes that would lead to sleep because it would make me vulnerable to that. All the other things that we do in even if it's not a threat and it's an artificial way, they still provide the same stimulation that makes us less likely to fall asleep. So the sounds, the action, the lights, the cameras, all those things can definitely stimulate you enough to be awake. That's also why some people don't understand how much their sleep deficiency is problematic, because if they work a stressful job, for instance, or they're having something that keeps their adrenaline going, they may feel more awake in the moment, but then as soon as you have a down moment or a quiet moment, you're falling asleep and you're not able to maintain your normal activity. So that is problematic, but your body has things that it can do to counteract the effects of sleep. It's just not going to be sustainable.
Awesome. Great. We're going to get some good sleep going forward.
That's for sure.
I want to try at least.
I would tell anyone that's listening, when you hear some of our guests on here and you say, I want them because they're going to motivate my team. They're going to, give them a different mindset and they got a great story. It all starts with this. So you should definitely check out Dr. Angela Holliday-Bell's, website, The Solution is Sleep. You should reach out to her. If you want to give real value at the next conference, we attend a lot of conferences. You want to give some real value to people, give them the basis of greatness, and that's getting a good night's sleep so they start their day off. Well, I can talk about mindset all day, but if I wake up and I don't get enough sleep, my mindset is not going to be the best Kevin Delory mindset. It's going to be maybe at 80%. I'd rather have 100% of my best, employees, my best teammates at 100% than 80. So anyone that's listening, I know a lot of, it's coming into show season where we go to all these conferences. This is added value, not just let's go. Let's get fired up. That's great. Soon if I don't get enough sleep, the next day I'm going to wake up and all the great ideas you gave me, I'm going to be a flop. Set yourself up for success, and it starts with a good night's sleep, right?
Absolutely. And maybe you don't need that to get you going.
Yeah.
You'll say, I need that coffee in the morning to get me going. Maybe you're not getting the 8 hours sleep that you need.
Kenny brings me coffee every day, so I still need the coffee every day. I think
money.
what he's trying to do, he's trying to weasel out to get me that coffee every day.
Now, listen, I just have to say, I love coffee. Coffee is one of my second loves outside of sleep. You just got to drink responsibly, just like you have to nap responsibly. Do it in the morning, do the lowest dosage you need to get the effect that you're looking for, and not do it too late so that it's affecting your sleep. Also wanted to mention, guys, this is a great time for my show. I actually just came out my first book. I don't know if I can see this, called Sleeping on the Job. Proven strategies to optimize your workplace performance and personal well-being through better sleep. And in this book, I really just threw everything in there, put it all on the table, tangible, specific strategies that you can implement to improve your sleep right away. And I go into the science of sleep, how it affects your memory, creativity, productivity, your problem solving, all the things you need to be successful in your day-to-day life, and how to start implementing strategies to improve it.
I'm getting one as soon as we get off. I'm actually going to get one for everyone in the office, because sometimes I can't figure out why they're not here at 9, and sometimes they're at 7:30 in the morning because they're not getting the right sleep. So we always have a staple question that Kenny's going to ask.
Absolutely. We generally ask our guests, in their industry, how do they define their value in their industry? So how do you define your value?
How do I define my value? Oh, that's a great question. So at my core, I'm an educator and I'm an empowerer. I educate people with what they need to live their best and healthiest lives, and then I empower them with the tools that they need to do so. And that is a drive that keeps me going when I get to see that light bulb come on and people feel that they have some control over their health and the things that are ailing them, especially as it pertains to sleep, and then they can go on to live happier and healthier lives.
I love it.
I can't wait to start this worry journal. I really can't. I'm going to email you in a week and let you know how I make out with it.
Please do. Yes, please.
I am super excited just not to have all that, because it leads to anxiety. And then I'm staring at the ceiling, and then I'm counting sheep like I'm 5 years old again, and, counting backwards from 100 and doing all these crazy things, rather than just addressing the problem before I close my eyes, put them in that worry journal and tackling it the next day when I'm fresh and have a good night's sleep. So I'm super excited.
Excellent. I love that.
Definitely want to share to all the listeners. You got to check out solutionissleep.com. Find Dr. Angela's new book. I'm super excited to get it. I'm going to get it for some of the guys in the office that I see that need that couple extra hours. But this is where it all starts. I think you can't have the mindset if you don't wake up in the right mindset, and you don't wake up ready to attack the day. And this is why, when I reach out to you, you probably went and looked at some episodes, and like, this guy always has pro athletes, all these different business leaders, and we talk about mindset, because this is where it all starts.
Yes. 100%. No, I absolutely agree. And I just know how tightly woven sleep is into all facets of success. And so anytime I can throw that in there and help to expand people's mind about the power of sleep, I'm all for it. So I'm so happy you reached out to me. I think it's so important.
Well, thank you so much for being on our show. Thank you for Jenna for everything she does behind the scenes. I'll let her take us out. Thank you so much, Dr. Angela Holliday-Bell.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
As always, thank you for joining us for another episode of The Whole Perspective. You can always check us out at the Empower Brokers community on Facebook or at epmwholesale.com. You can always email Kenny or myself directly at kevin@epm.net or kenny@epm.net. Thanks, and look forward to seeing you soon.